Walking with You, a journey through decision. Presented by Hope Pregnancy Resource Center. Disclaimer. Our goal here at Hope PRC is to build a trusting relationship with you and help you through this big decision. Our ultimate goal is to help you develop a relationship with Jesus Christ and invite you into his family. Since we are a faith-based organization that believes in the sanctity of human life, we do not recommend abortion. However, that does not mean we will pressure you. This choice is entirely up to you. We also understand the magnitude of this decision, and so nothing permanent needs to be decided in this meeting. Walking with you is meant to help you gain the knowledge you need and give you the space to process your thoughts, emotions, and decisions. First resting spot. Before we go any further, take some time now to think about these questions. Then, if you like, discuss them with your client advocate. What is your initial reaction to having a positive pregnancy test? Any and all emotions you're feeling are valid and deserve to be heard. Right now, what are you thinking about or considering regarding your decision? What is your relationship with Christianity like? How comfortable are you with allowing God into this conversation on a deeper level? Strength in trials. You do not have to go through this process alone. Not only do we at Hope want to walk with you on this journey, but God does as well. God never promises that we won't go through trials, but he does promise that he will walk with us through them. Here are some verses that relay God's promise to give us strength in trials. Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 8. It is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not fail you or forsake you. Do not fear or be dismayed. Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my victorious right hand. The first stepping stone, your life map. You and your client advocate should have already gone through the intake process and answered questions regarding your support system, finances, and spiritual life. In this section, we'll look at each of these categories in more depth, as well as a few more, to get a clear picture of your life now and how we can begin planning for the future. We understand that many factors will influence your decision-making process, such as self-esteem, finances, spirituality, life goals, family, and relationships. We'll go through some questions that address these factors. Take your time and really consider what each of these means to you. Support system. How is your familial support system? Do you have any fears, concerns, or hopes about their involvement? What does your romantic relationship look like if you have one? Do you have any fears, concerns, or hopes about their involvement? How are your friendships? Do you have anyone outside your family or romantic partner who can support you? If you've told someone already about this pregnancy or potential pregnancy, are you feeling pressured in any way by them to make a particular decision? If not, do you believe someone will pressure you? Most importantly, what does your relationship with yourself look like? How can you be supportive of yourself during this time? Finances. We understand that finances can be very stressful. Take heart. There are solutions to financial problems. How much is your financial situation factoring into your decision making? Do you have any fears, concerns, or worries about being able to provide for yourself and your child? How do you feel about financial programs like Medicaid, TANF, and SNAP? If they are needed, do you know how to locate and sign up? How much financial support, if any, are you receiving from people in your support system? Life goals. What are some of the goals you want to accomplish in life? How is the news of being pregnant impacting your thoughts on these goals? Do you believe that having children means you have to give up your dreams and ambitions? How confident are you that you could still accomplish these goals while parenting? Finances. We understand that finances can be very stressful. Take heart. There are solutions to financial problems. How much is your financial situation factoring into your decision making? Do you have any fears, concerns, or worries about being able to provide for yourself and your child? How do you feel about financial programs like Medicaid, TANF, and SNAP? If they are needed, do you know how to locate and sign up? How much financial support, if any, are you receiving from people in your support system? Life goals. What are some of the goals you want to accomplish in life? How is the news of being pregnant impacting your thoughts on these goals? Do you believe that having children means you have to give up your dreams and ambitions? How confident are you that you could still accomplish these goals while parenting? Spiritual life. How important is God in your life? How is your faith affecting your feelings about this pregnancy? Do you have any doubts about God's love for you and his plan for you? Do you believe God can help you through this despite your fears? Our second resting spot. That was a lot to consider. We understand that it feels overwhelming. Take a few moments to process in silence or discuss with your client advocate. Also, if you feel like we missed something or there is another factor you need to consider, please let us know. If you like, here's a verse to meditate on while you process. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. The second stepping stone. What's happening? You've now had the opportunity to consider your life map and see where your areas of strength and concern are. You might now be wondering how far along you are and what is happening in your womb right now. In this section, we will go over the first few weeks of pregnancy and some historical context for the debate of our generation. When does life begin? First, what does God say? Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Psalms chapter 139, verse 13. For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we shall walk in them. Week 1. Gestational age is based on the first day of your last menstrual period. Ovulation occurs on average around day 14 of a woman's cycle. An egg is viable 12 to 24 hours after ovulation. It is during this time that an egg can be fertilized. Side note, sperm can survive in the fallopian tubes up to 7 days. Week 2. Once an egg is fertilized, it begins to rapidly divide into a multicellular being called a zygote. This zygote has its own unique DNA and begins to independently travel down the fallopian tube to the uterus. Week 3. A week after fertilization, the zygote has become a blastocyst. This blastocyst will embed itself into your uterine lining. Within the blastocyst, cells are separating to become the embryo and the placenta. Week 4. The zygote has now become an embryo with 3 distinct germ or cell layers. The first will form the digestive system, liver, and lungs. The second layer will form the heart, kidneys, muscles, and bones. The third layer will form the nervous system, hair, skin, and eyes. Week 5. The spinal cord and a layer of skin has started to form. The embryo now has a 2-chambered heart, and the baby will have a heartbeat, but it is not detectable by ultrasound. The placenta has begun to form. This organ gives nutrients to the baby for growth. Week 6. The beginnings of the embryo's eyes and inner ears have developed. The embryo now has a heartbeat that can be detected through ultrasound. The beginnings of the digestive and respiratory systems are forming. The embryo is also beginning to develop arms and legs. Week 7. The umbilical cord has formed. It provides the baby with oxygen and nourishment and removes waste products through the placenta. The mouth, nostrils, ears, and eyes are becoming more defined. The arm buds that developed last week now have tiny hands. On average, women find out they are pregnant between 4 and 7 weeks. Week 8. The reproductive organs are beginning to form into a genital bud, and by 12 weeks, they will either develop into ovaries or testes. Your baby's heart now has 4 chambers, a very tiny replica of a full-grown adult heart. The bones of your baby's arms and legs are starting to become firm, and the tail has disappeared, marking the transition from embryo to fetus. The embryo is now capable of spontaneous movement. On average, the majority of chemical abortions happen between weeks 7 and 9 of pregnancy. Some historical context for one of the biggest questions of our generation: when does life begin? In 1839, Schleiden and Schwann discovered that an embryo develops from a single-cell zygote. This zygote was recognized as alive and an independent being. In 1859, the American Medical Association published a statement strongly opposing abortion due to the independence of the zygote between its formation and implantation in the uterine lining. In 1965, the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology attempted to change the scientific fact that life begins at conception to life begins at implantation. This was done so birth control would not be considered an abortifacient. An abortifacient is a drug that intentionally ends a pregnancy. In 1973, Roe v. Wade made it a constitutional right to have an abortion prior to the point of fetal viability outside the womb. In 2022, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned the 1973 Roe v. Wade decision. As a result, abortion is no longer a constitutional right. However, the decision to continue offering abortion is left to the discretion of individual states. Our third resting spot. That was a lot of information. If you're feeling overwhelmed, take a moment of silence to gather your thoughts. And if you have any questions, discuss with your client advocate. Here's a verse to meditate on while you process. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Philippians chapter 4, verse 7. The third stepping stone, options. In this section, we will go in depth on all the options available to you. Remember, you do not have to make a decision now. We understand that no decision will be easy. Each choice will require sacrifice. To make the best decision you can, you need to know the right information about the options available to you. We'll be going over abortion, adoption, and parenting. Abortion. As we stated at the beginning of this walk, since we are a faith-based organization, we personally will never recommend abortion. However, we do realize that we cannot force anyone not to have one. We want to be honest and transparent about what actually happens in an abortion. And so in this section, we'll go over the different types of abortions so you can make an educated decision. If it becomes too overwhelming or distressing, stop at any time and talk with your client advocate. First things first, what does your state say? After Roe v. Wade was overturned in June of 2022, the state of Mississippi immediately made abortion illegal. There are only a few exceptions: to save the life of the mother, and if the pregnancy is the result of rape or incest that has been reported to law enforcement. Types of abortions: chemical or pill abortion. The FDA originally approved the pills for use up to 7 weeks of gestation, but later extended it to 10 weeks. However, the majority of abortion clinics offer them through 11 to 13 weeks of gestation, significantly increasing the risks involved. A chemical abortion involves 2 drugs in pill format: mifepristone and misoprostol. Mifepristone blocks progesterone, a hormone needed for the baby to grow. Without this hormone, the uterine lining will start to break down. Misoprostol, taken orally or vaginally, softens the cervix and contracts the uterus. This medication causes heavy bleeding and cramping, likened to a miscarriage. 63% of abortions performed are chemical, and most chemical abortions happen at 9 weeks or less. Aspiration or suction. This abortion procedure takes place up to 16 weeks. A pelvic exam would be performed, and then the cervix would be dilated. This can take up to 2 days if you're in the second trimester. Then a strong suction tool is inserted into the uterus and forcefully sucks out the fetus and uterine lining. While the procedure itself is short, a visit to an abortion clinic can last up to 6 hours. Blood work, ultrasounds, and consultation are done before the procedure. In-clinic observation after the procedure is needed in case of complications. You will experience cramping and bleeding after this procedure. Around 35% of abortions are aspiration or suction, and 93% of these abortions take place at 13 weeks or less. This is a replica of a baby at week 13. The average weight of a 13-week-old in the womb is 2.6 ounces, and the average length is around 2.6 inches, roughly the size of a small lemon. Dilation and evacuation. This procedure is performed between 16 and 26 weeks. A fetus can be viable outside of the womb at 22 weeks. This method requires 1 to 2 days because the cervix must be dilated slowly with medication. The patient is either put under general anesthesia or local anesthesia is used around the cervix. First, a suction tool is used to suck out the amniotic fluid. Then, while the baby is alive, a surgical clamp is used to grasp and then forcefully pull out the arms, legs, and torso from the uterus. The baby's head is usually the last part to come out, and it will need to be crushed in order to be taken out. Next, all of the baby parts are reassembled after the procedure to ensure none remain inside. Finally, the uterus is scraped with a tool to make sure there isn't any remaining tissue. If any tissue or parts of the baby are left inside, the decomposing tissue could cause sepsis and the death of the woman. Abortion complications. For a long while, the abortion pill was considered relatively safe, with serious cases occurring in 1%. However, new studies in 2025 showed that 1 in 10 seek hospitalization within 30 days of their abortion. With the chemical abortion, around 2% of women experience hemorrhaging and around 1.5% of women experience sepsis. 6% of women experience an incomplete abortion with the pill. This would require a second abortion procedure, most likely suction. Women who have abortions in the second and third trimester are more likely to experience cervical injury, infection, hemorrhaging, uterine perforation or rupture, and incomplete abortions. In 2022, at least 5 women died from abortion complications in the U.S. Since 2011, there have been at least 47. How could abortion affect me? It could affect you physically. Studies show that there is an increased risk of breast cancer among women who have induced abortions. Induced abortions increase the risk of premature delivery and birth defects in future pregnancies. It could affect your relationships. Women who are facing pressure or a lack of support are more likely to choose abortion. Studies have shown that this increases the risk of mental illness. If you are experiencing pressure from friends, family, or partners to abort your child, this is a friendly reminder that pressuring someone to abort is actually illegal. Women who face intimate partner violence are more likely to elect for abortion. Couples who choose abortion are at an increased risk of relationship problems. How could abortion affect me? It could affect you emotionally. Studies show that women who have abortions do increase the risk of developing mental illness, such as depression and anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD, drug and alcohol abuse, suicidal thoughts and behaviors. Partners of women who abort are also at risk of mental health issues. Some studies show that women report no distress about their abortion after 1 month. However, other studies show that the negative effects of their abortion can reveal themselves months, years, or decades later. It could affect you spiritually. Women who are religious show an increased risk of mental health issues after an abortion. Some women might even experience pressure from people in their religious organization to have an abortion. Some women might experience rejection if people in their religious organization learn about their abortion. Our fourth resting spot. Let's reset here for a moment. That information may have been overwhelming and hard to hear. We understand. Before we continue, rest here a moment or discuss with your client advocate about any questions you may have. If you like, here's a verse you can meditate on while you process. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7. Adoption. If you're not considering abortion but cannot see yourself becoming a parent or being able to parent, adoption might be the best route for you. However, we still understand that adoption is not an easy decision. In this section, we'll tell you about an adoption agency Hope PRC has partnered with. But don't worry, there are plenty more out there. New beginnings. While there are many adoption agencies to choose from, Hope PRC is proud to partner with New Beginnings. We'll share a few things about New Beginnings and the work they do for not only children and potential adoptive families, but birth mothers as well. The process. New Beginnings is a faith-based adoption organization that prioritizes placing children in excellent homes while ensuring the rights, dignity, and restoration of birth mothers. Here is a breakdown of the adoption process. There will be an initial contact with the birth mother. We will help you get connected if you choose to go through with adoption. Next, you will meet with a social worker provided by New Beginnings. Then you'll need to complete the paperwork to start the adoption process. The social worker will help you. Don't worry, nothing is legally binding until after the baby is born. Also, birth mothers in Mississippi cannot sign anything legally binding until at least 72 hours after birth. The birth mother gets to decide the degree of openness of the relationship with the adoptive parents. Open, semi-open, or closed. At New Beginnings, the birth mother chooses the family for the child. If you like, you can choose to meet or not meet with the adoptive family prior to giving birth. Next, the birth mother and social worker will work together to create a hospital plan for when it comes time to deliver the baby. During the birth mother's delivery, the social worker will provide needed support. After being discharged from the hospital after delivery, the birth mother will meet with an attorney. Don't worry, New Beginnings provides and pays for the attorney. The social worker will then meet with the birth mother to sign legal papers. After the adoption has been processed, the birth mother will receive ongoing counseling and support from New Beginnings. Finally, you, as the birth mother, can continue to have contact with the child and family if a semi-open or open adoption plan is chosen. That's not all. New Beginnings offers complete confidentiality, social workers who advocate for birth mothers, basic needs of financial support, housing, transportation, utilities, food, and clothing. Support before, during, and after the adoption plan. And last but not least, New Beginnings hosts a birth mother retreat every year. Birth mothers who went through the adoption process in New Beginnings get together to have fun, participate in Bible studies, and find community with women who can relate to their stories. Our last resting spot. How are we feeling? We're at the last stretch of the journey. Take a few moments to process, breathe. If you have any questions, talk with your client advocate. We'll be looking at parenting next. Here is a verse to meditate on if needed. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Matthew chapter 5, verse 4. Parenting. You may decide to take the step not only to carry your baby to term, but also to parent your baby. This decision may be the hardest of the three to consider because parenting might require a total life change. However, it could turn out to be the best decision you ever made. What does God say about children? As a father shows compassion to his children, so the Lord shows compassion to those who fear him. Psalms chapter 103, verse 13. Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior are the children of one's youth. Blessed is the man who fills his quiver with them. He shall not be put to shame when he speaks with his enemies in the gate. Psalms chapter 127, verses 3 through 5. Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." Matthew chapter 19, verse 14. God sees children as precious blessings, as rewards meant to be protected and cherished. Not only are the young and unborn considered children of God, but you are too. God wants to protect and cherish you. We get it. Parenting can be hard and require sacrifice. We also understand that it can seem almost impossible to do it alone or with minimal support. However, even when it is hard, children can be a great joy in one's life. Many women who face an unwanted pregnancy and keep their child end up being dedicated, loving parents. We at Hope PRC want to show you that there is a way forward. Through our program, Blessing You Forward, at Hope PRC, we want to work with you throughout your pregnancy to provide education, support, and the essential items you need for your pregnancy and your baby. Through educational videos provided by Bright Course, you choose what topics you are most interested in learning about to help you through this pregnancy. With each visit to Hope, we will add essential items for your little one and place them into the baby bag you choose. We also have items for maternity. On your last Blessing You Forward visit, you will take the full bag and lots more home with you. Our goal for Blessing You Forward is not only to provide you with knowledge and items you need for your baby, but also to show you that you are not alone. Last but not least, we want to help you branch out. If you are looking not only to build a relationship with Jesus Christ and like-minded people and are in need of a church home, Hope PRC can help you get connected. We understand the importance of community, and we want to make sure you have one that welcomes you with open arms. Remember, a church is not a group of righteous people who separate themselves. Rather, it is a hospital for the sick, broken, and weary, where one can truly find rest in Jesus. All walks must end, but we hope you have found a beginning. Thank you for letting us walk with you.